Would like to please welcome Tarun. Would like to please welcome Tarun, our CEO and co-founder of Ather Energy, to kickstart the keynote address. A huge round of applause for Tarun.
Feels great to come back to an in-person event. It's been a while. Hi, everybody. I'm Tarun, co-founder and CEO at Ather. I've had an opportunity over the years to meet some of you here, especially in Bangalore, but super excited to finally meet our community from across the country today. Our community has grown quite a lot since our last open house event. From roughly about 6,000 owners when we, I think, last met in person, to almost 80,000 people now, 80,000 owners across the country. But it's not just the total number that's important, it's the rate of growth. 40,000 of those 80,000, 50% of them have come onto our community in the last 6 months. So just the last 6 months is 40,000 folks. And we will likely add another 40,000 people in the next 3 months. So we're growing super fast. I think this is what exponential growth really looks like. All of these owners over the last 4 years have clocked a cumulative 500 million kilometers. Right? I remember the day when we celebrated a 1 million kilometer mark on Twitter in a pretty big way. We're pretty excited. And we used to think about what happens when it gets to 10 and then 100. Now we're at 500 million. Soon enough, it'll get to a billion number. At this current rate, I think literally in the next few months, we'll cross 1 billion kilometers. Those 1 billion kilometers have saved 90,000 tons of CO2 over the last years. And I don't know how many millions of tons of fuel over this time period. What's this growth been powered by? This growth has been powered by a massive buildup of operations, a massive scale-up of our manufacturing capability over the last year in particular. So you guys know we talked about our first factory in Hosur going live early 2020, I believe. Our second factory in Hosur went live later, sometime last year. September, we had already used up our first capacity. Second capacity went live recently, which increases our total capacity to 4.2 lakh units per annum. It's difficult to understand from numbers, but the rate we are growing, we will use up this entire capacity by sometime this coming festive. So around October, November, we will likely utilize this capacity completely, which is why we are already on our way to working on expanding this build-up on, which we haven't announced, to scale this capacity up to 15 lakh units per annum. This should be the number we hit by sometime next year. It's a far cry from the early days of 450, from the early open house events that we used to do, where we used to do about 200 units a month. Now we do 200 units every, I think, like 2 or 3 hours. And that number will drop to 200 units practically every hour very shortly. And this kind of a capacity buildup has had another massive impact. It's created an extremely a very large ecosystem, which has in turn created a lot of jobs. Not just the jobs at Ather. Our manufacturing alone has created more than 1,500 jobs. But across our ancillaries, tier 2, tier 3 suppliers over the last few years, it has created more than 10,000 jobs. If you think of impact, kilometers driven, CO2 saved, number of vehicles on the road, number of EVs, number of jobs created. I think this is a pretty massive number that we have created over the last few years. Finally, in terms of expansion of distribution, because that's something we get a lot of feedback on, why are you guys not selling everywhere? Why are you guys not present everywhere? Well, we actually progressed quite a lot, especially in the last 6 months on that. I think early last year, March, April, we were at about 30, 40 stores across the country. December, we finished 160 touch points, 90 experience centers, 160 touch points in India. And that number is now scaling up to almost 250 touch points by March this year. This just takes our dream of making EVs, taking the Ather brand pan-India very, very real now. At the current pace, we will likely cross 400 touch points again by festive this coming year. I just wanted to set some background about what's happened over the last year or two since we did the last open house event. Want to talk a little bit about what we're building and why this event in the first place. early on when we started Ather, for me, for Swapnil, the idea was, we were pretty excited about the idea of building battery packs, and that took us to vehicles. And since we did not have a legacy, all we wanted to do was basically build a vehicle that we would have a lot of fun with. Built for us, that became the driving philosophy for product development at Ather. This is an actual poster that we put up all the way back in 2014. And it's continued its way since then over the years at Ather. Even today, it sort of stays in our office. It was a very different philosophy. Typical product companies' philosophy is different. It's more about empathy of customers, step in the shoes of the customer. Our philosophy was that be the customer first. You have to be the person who wants to use this product every single day. So build for us became that philosophy. This, over a period of time, essentially became a very high set of benchmarks for how you do product development. It became an internal filter of sorts, a zero compromise philosophy. With this, we started work on S340. S340, with this philosophy, became a lot of firsts of its kinds in the industry. It's a quick recap. Maybe some of you may not have registered it over a period of time. The original S340, the original 450 and 340 had the first aluminum frame on a scooter in India. It had the first lithium-ion battery pack on a scooter in India. It had the first onboard charger. It had the first fast charger. It had the first frame motor architecture anytime, anywhere in India. The first belt architecture for an EV in India. It was the first scooter, not just in India, but anywhere in the globe, to use a touchscreen dashboard on the handlebar. The first one to launch with Android, the first one to sort of introduce Google Maps, the first one to introduce navigation of any kind. It was a very long list of pioneering efforts that we were putting in. Typically, startups don't do that. Typically, startups go incremental. You will try one thing. If that one thing works, you will try another thing. You will show revenue. You will do step by step. What we were doing originally with 450 was a pretty massive leap. That leap was quite scary, and which is why in 2016, after we put our first demo scooter out, we just wanted a few people around us. We just wanted to sort of be real. I remember the first open house event that we called for back in 2016. The idea was, let's just get some feedback. Let's practice our sales pitch. Right? Let's just really know how to sell this product really well. Let's just get some feedback. It was meant to be a couple of hours event. It stretched over, I think, like 5 hours. Like, I think about 40 people came in that event, and these are multiple open houses that happened since then. 40, 50 people came in that event, and they stayed on for like... It's changed our view of what an open house event is. Ather was the first one to do an open house event. We actually legit thought of this as sales practice, but this sort of actually became a community for us. We fell in love with the idea of meeting people who really, really want to engage with us, who really want to listen to our stories. And we had a lot of stories. If you're building so much stuff, first time ever, your philosophy is so different. And boy, our philosophies are very different. We were doing all of this grounds up. We were not doing joint ventures. We were not importing products, which was already a massive new thing for electric vehicles. We were not even importing technology. We didn't like buy out a company to say, hey, here is a platform, let's just start selling something. We were hell-bent that let's build a product, ground up for something that makes a lot of sense for Indian customer, and it has to be a massive leap. That community sort of, became a rallying point. It became part of the reason for a lot of us to sort of, come back to office every single day. It took us 4.5 years to launch the first product. It was a hard, long journey. But these open house events that used to happen every other month became a big, big rallying point for a lot of us. It kept us on it. It kept us excited. And that was the start of our community. Today, as we are here, open house events have, by the way, never been about launch events, okay? And so we debated this quite a lot. We had a lot of announcements, a lot of updates today, but this is not actually meant for just that. It is still meant for what the original open house events were, which is open up the hood, which is why before me, we had the session of Magic of Engineering with Swapnil and Hari. We want to use more and more time. We want to figure out ways to sort of talk to our folks, get some feedback, engage. Very famously, the what mode on Ather 450 was born out of one of these open house events that we did in our office many years back. We literally asked people who would want a bigger performance mode out of this, and literally everybody's hands went up. That's what we like. We like for you to ask more questions. We would like for you to sort of engage more with us. And we would like to tell you how we build that battery, what our product philosophy is, why are we building a long-range version, or why are we not building a long-range version? Why have we not launched a cheaper scooter? What kind of products we really like building? Why are we building infrastructure first? Ather launched charging infrastructure before its scooters. We want to answer, we want to engage on all these questions. So even after this session, when you will step out and you will enter the grounds here post-lunch, you will see a lot of stalls. And the idea is just that. We want to tell you all these stories, and we would love for you to engage more. Right? So that's what open house events always have been about. Let's come back to our product now. The core philosophy, the concept of joy of building, the concept of what we want to build is at the intersection of great hardware meets great software meets great design. A lot of companies actually skip the design part, and that's super important to us. Famously, the Ather 450 was sketched, and that sketched remained true till the very last launch date. In fact, only improved over a period of time. So design, you obviously understand, Ather 450 is known for it. Even today in the industry, as people replicate our features, people replicate our specs, you're owners, so all of you know this, how the 450 looks, how the 450 features experience out, the warp mode description that these guys are talking about, still remains exceptionally different. So design is something very fundamental for us. Hardware is obviously very fundamental for us. Again, 450 today is the benchmark of what is good hardware. What is good hardware? Good hardware is good quality. Quality of components that does not degrade. Consistently gives the same performance year after year, ride after ride. Many of you are today riding the 3 or 4 year old 450s. Even if your batteries are degraded, it is still riding really well. Your batteries likely have not even degraded by more than 10%. Great hardware is a very, very important part for us. And this hardware has been improved over successive generations of the platform. We launched Gen 3 a few months back last year, and that was generation 3 of this hardware improvement. Today, in this open house, we want to talk about leveraging that hardware and making your scooter new again. We want to use the software and improve the functionality of the vehicle. That was one of the starting pitches we had in our open houses, that this will be an ever-improving scooter. And we want to finally leverage that in a big way. We have a lot of announcements, a lot of updates specifically around using that software and powering newer experiences for our vehicles. Starting with technology first. At the heart of the technology of 450 is first, obviously, the hardware. That's what I talked about. We want to leverage great hardware, the hardware that is visible and that's obvious. It's a motor, it's a battery, it's a charger, it's the dashboards. All this hardware is at the base of the vehicle, right? And that's obvious. What's on top of this is, by the way, most of this, almost all of this is custom developed. That's been a core philosophy. Build custom pieces so that you get the best possible performance out of that hardware. But how do you get that performance? You need great software on top of it. That software is what we call as firmware on the vehicle. Each of that firmware is very custom. It's written specifically for each of those units. Again, Ather is differentiated. We don't just pick up these components, including its firmware from our suppliers, except almost none of it is from the market. It's all been built in-house. That custom development of firmware on top of that hardware gives you a very unique experience. Powering that are a series of algorithms on top of that firmware. System intelligence and algorithms. These are the algorithms that allow you an extremely consistent fast charging experience. Today, if you were to compare Ather's fast charging with anybody else in the industry, you will quickly notice that it doesn't matter whether you are at 5% or 30% or 50%, or whether you charge for 10% in a fast charger or you charge for 50% in a fast charger. You will get almost the same charging speed consistently, even years later. It doesn't matter whether you're riding solo or you're riding duals. You will get almost the same kind of an acceleration and almost the same top speed. It's the same algorithms that give you an extremely predictable true range. Even when you're down to the last 10 kilometers, your true range algorithms generally on an Ather will work far better than anybody else in the industry. And that's because these algorithms are stitched up with the firmware and because we built that hardware together. On top of this firmware, you've got the more visible aspect, which is the dashboard, and the operating system that goes in the dashboard. Operating system is not all of it. OS is just one part of the story, but it's a more visible aspect, because this is a layer that stitches the communication between different units together. And on top of that OS, and Ather's OS is built on stock Android, so it's our own customized version on top of it. It's what gives you the visuals and the UI that you see. And finally, on top of this OS, you've got the connectivity layer ultimately. This is a part that Ather's gotten really good at. We've gone through years of pain, and you're an owner, so you know this. There have been long enough patches when your write stats have been painful or something else has been a long journey for us. But today, if you look at our quality metrics on this, they've like improved almost 10x, especially over the last 6 months. And Ather's gotten really good at cloud connectivity. What does connectivity do? Connectivity allows us to offer better features for you, connected features like find your scooter, or track your usage statistics, or track your charging, or find a charger. But it also allows us in the backend to constantly improve your scooter and constantly improve your experience. I'm going to put out a stat. We've generally never been public about this. There is 10,000 terabytes of data that is powering this entire understanding. And this data goes all the way back in and helps us improve the OS, helps us improve the algorithms, helps us write newer firmware. A lot of the OTAs have improved the firmware on different components. And all of it is powered by the largest understanding of two-wheeler riding patterns today in the industry. So my point with this entire slide is, it's not just hardware, but it's this entire layer above it. This entire layer, by the way, this is a fairly evolved understanding. On day one, it's not like we had this. On day one, we used to think of software as essentially a tablet on your handlebar. Very famously, my early pitches for fundraise used to say we're building an electric scooter with a Nexus 7 tablet on the handlebar. And the early prototypes actually had a Nexus 7 tablet taped on the handlebar. Over a period of time, we realized that alone is not a good enough layer. You want this software to go super deep. That's why we had this session by Hari and Swapnil. You want this software understanding to go super deep to be able to open up better experiences, not just open up better visuals. This entire understanding, this entire stack is what we call as Etherstack. Etherstack is actually not a new term. Etherstack is what we've been calling calling this entire engine for the last several years. Back in 2018, when we launched 450, while the EV aspect of the vehicle was obviously received a lot of attention, the bigger disruption in the backend was the buildup of the ability to think of this entire thing as a single engine, Etherstack. It allowed us all those features, even something as simple as enabling reverse mode, a torque-controlled reverse mode, a speed-controlled reverse mode was an ability that came out of thinking of a system together. Over a period of time, Etherstacks kept improving. It's improved a lot. Starting with, wow, okay, 1 minute. Yes, it's a long list. So these are all those are all the OTAs that went out that came from, all the time. So the first one was Etherstack Alpha. This is everything that came before 450 XCar launch. This is pre-2021, so till 2020. Everything from range prediction to real-time efficiency to park assist to eco mode, guide me home lights, dark mode. Etherstack 1.0 brought in call control, Bluetooth enabling controls, basically music control, a complete revamp of the app, Ather Labs as a feature, grid point shaders, warp mode very famously. Etherstack 2.0, which came in September 2021, theft and tow detection, auto theme switching, revamped document storage, savings tracker. Etherstack 3.0, which came in April last year, TPMS support, smart eco mode, self-serve support, Bluetooth library integration, and Etherstack 4.0, which just came in a few months back, enabled features like find my scooter, better charging, optimized charging in the back end, live grid status. So there have been a lot of generations of Etherstack. For people in the community, you guys have been tracking this. You've been also tracking Etherstack 4.0. Under the hood, we've been thinking for a long time how to overhaul this. And today we are super excited to launch the largest overhaul of Etherstack till date, Etherstack 5.0. I missed the slide, sorry. Yeah. The largest overall of Etherstack till date, Etherstack 5.0. What is Etherstack 5.0? It upgrades your experience across the board, starting with technology first. Let me just move. And the first thing that changes there is your user interface. There have been leaks. The leaks are not wrong. Yes, your UI gets a considerable change. First, let me talk about why are we changing the UI. When we launched the scooter, the UI that we built was built with a very automotive mindset. Over a period of time, however, we realized the power of this, and the hardware specifically kept upgrading. And our ambition became that we want to offer the same UI that you get on your smartphones, that you get on your tablets. How do we bring that to your dashboard? It's not easy. You can't just copy the UI of a smartphone and just paste it here. So we had to do a lot of work. We want to leverage power of touch specifically. So this is what the new UI looks like. It understands ergonomics much better. It's designed for keeping your palm in a much more ergonomic way. It understands swipe actions in a much better way. It understands it also is a complete redoing of the layout of the dashboard. This is what we call as fluidic spaces. And the idea was, when you start your ride, you should be able to see all your information, everything that you need for your ride on first step itself. You don't want a multi-step journey to get there. So if you see this launch screen now, you've got your music track right on the left side. You can see your range. You can see the mode that you're on. You can also now see navigation right on the main screen itself. And this was a big improvement. We realized that for most people, it was a multi-step journey. Starting dashboard, clicking on navigation, waiting for the screen to load, then entering your location. So we have cut through all of it. It's available right there. This makes your experience far more, it makes the entire process of starting much smoother and much faster. You've also got the ability to now move into settings menu in a much easier way. If you just scroll from the top down, your settings menu pops up immediately. So a common theme here is instead of taps, we are moving to more swipe gestures. We've sort of fallen in love with that gesture idea, and we realized that especially on a dashboard on a scooter, gestures work better than taps. So more and more we've moved to gestures across our UI now. We've also revamped the right screen completely. We realized that in the previous right generations, you only saw the mode ka name on the right screen. Nothing else was visible. The new right screen has this feature which we call Wings of Power. So with changing ride modes, changing sport, power, economy, warp, the power band itself expands. So it gives you a much better visual clue about how much power you actually have. And as you ride, the bar fills up and gives you an extremely intuitive and fast sense of how much power is available. This is a considerable step up again from the previous generation when we only had that halo effect around it. We've also done one small change, which is move all the icons in a far more obvious way, which is where the Bluetooth, the signal bar, and the time bar in the same place where your mobile phone's icons are. Just makes it simpler to understand. We've tried with all of this to take our UI closer and closer to how your smartphone and tablet experience is, while still understanding the nuances of a two-wheeler. All of it is still, touch is still disabled when you ride, so we make sure that you have a non-distracted driving experience at the end of the day. The next big change after user interface is around navigation. Now, let me describe. Navigation has a lot of stuff in it, and a lot of very exciting stuff in it. So first, as some background, when we launched 450 back in 2018, Ather was the first one to introduce Google Maps navigation on any two-wheeler, anywhere in the world. And 5 years later, Ather remains the only two-wheeler company to have Google Maps on their scooters. Literally no other company has been able to do the same integration. Now, today, we've been working deeply with Google in extending this. We've had constraints in the past because the only navigation experience that we could offer with Google Maps was the one that was replicated of the browser map navigation experience. So when you open Google Maps on your Chrome browser or on your Opera browser, the navigation that you see there, that's the experience that we had. So we had to do a lot of work to make it usable. But over the years, we've been working on this, and we're very excited to announce upgrades to our navigation. Today, the future of two-wheeler navigation is being reinvented jointly by Ather and Google together here. So what are the changes? Well, first is a big change, technological change, which is the introduction of vector maps. Vector maps is the same technology that you have in your Google Maps app in your phone today. What is vector maps? Simply put, today's navigation is a lot of pictures stitched up next to each other. Vector maps is a lot of code. It's essentially maths that just tells you how exactly every route has to be. Moving to vector maps means the entire loading improves dramatically. The entire experience becomes far more smoother. Zooming in, zooming out, panning. Now you can also rotate the screen, which you could not do in the past easily. The names were all pictures, right? So if you moved, you would see Kantraj Road like this. You could not read it. It was terrible. Vector Maps cuts through all of that bullshit. And it also allows layering. Layering does a very interesting thing because that enables the next big change with navigation. And the one that we've been looking for towards the longest time, perspective change. It might seem simple, but you are owner, so you know the kind of impact perspective has for your navigation. Without perspective, you're sort of always guessing when is the next turn coming. You have no idea which way direction you're heading. Perspective solves for all of it. You now see the next turn coming 150, 200 meters ahead of you. You have a much better sense of where you're headed. You have a far more intuitive navigation experience because this is what you're used to seeing everywhere. So perspective mode solves for that completely. It's a change that internally we've been sort of wishing for the longest time because this takes the two-wheeler Google Maps experience exactly the same as Android Auto experience on a four-wheeler. Again, this is also enabled by vector maps. And the final change is the one that the community has been asking for probably the longest time possible. Live traffic. I don't need to explain why this is cool. Even if we tell you the ETA while you're navigating, it's only a part of the story. It's one thing to sort of for the map to say 32 minutes to one place, and it's another thing, you just feel more control when you see the green and the red ahead of you, right? You just feel more like, I know I'm going to be depressed for the next 5 minutes because it's all red, right? So you want to have that feel, and that's what live traffic enables for you. So you see that icon there, those two car icons, just tap on that, and live traffic you can enable or disable on your dashboard. So a big change overall. I think this has been a change under way for a very long time. We just wanted to package it all together. We wanted to go with a single release, which is why Etherstack 5 was like one of our biggest awaited releases till now. Great, so that's about UI and that's about navigation. That's not all of it though. Beyond UI and navigation, I talked about Etherstack not just being the OS, not just being the dashboard. It extends and controls the software down to the hardware layer. And that means a lot of new ride experiences can be opened up, which were not possible in the past. So the third announcement with Etherstack 5.0 are a few new ride experiences. Let me talk about how that works. Let's say if you're on a slopey surface like this. Typically, with a petrol scooter, if you had to stop on this kind of a slopey surface, you don't have much of an option. You will have to keep your brakes pressed all the time. It's not an easy experience. So typically you would use those mechanical brake locks. Yeah, just stay. Don't go. Just stay there. Don't go up. Yeah. So typically you would use those mechanical brake locks that some scooters have. Just stay. You'd use the mechanical brake locks. Stole my thunder. So, introducing auto hold. It's a better experience than those ugly mechanical brake locks. In fact, I would argue this is a better experience than what you would get in most cars also. Why? Because it engages so beautifully. As Shekhar here just stopped, you're on a slopey surface, you just stop, You leave your brakes, you're on hold. If you tap your brakes once, you're out of it, which means if somebody's rolling back into you, you exit out of that mode almost instantaneously. This mode can maintain itself not for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, but almost indefinitely. 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes. So it has a very, very long ability to maintain itself. And it works across temperature ranges. It works across single users, let's check this, across dual users. It'll, I'm sure, work across 3 people also. Thanks, Shaker. So auto hold is something, again, that teams have been actually testing for 2 freaking years. Okay, we don't launch features easily. Huh? We launch them after a lot of hard work, after a lot of thinking. Backstory about auto hold, and I think it deserves this. Auto hold was not just built as a simple implementation. To build auto hold, about 2.5 years back, our teams embarked on a process of rebuilding one of the most important pieces of hardware from scratch. The motor controller that drives your motor completely, the entire motor controller was brought in-house, and our teams started rebuilding it from scratch to enable these experiences, because it was very hard to do in this magical way with a off-the-shelf motor controller. An off-the-shelf motor controller would not stay on that kind of, by the way, that surface is not a simple slope. This is a freaking 12-degree slope. Indian road legal requirement is, I think, 6 or 8 degrees, right? So most flyovers that you see, all flyovers that you see, are generally 6 degrees. They're half of this. So we are really showing this to you on possibly one of the harder slopey requirements. And heck, auto hold will also work at 14, 15 degrees. You can't get that extremely consistent performance, that extremely reliable performance across such steep slope surfaces if you don't do your own hardware. So our teams went back and rebuilt the motor controller, which is what's finally allowed us to bring auto hold onto your 450X. Not just auto hold. Over the coming months, this will also enable more controls on the vehicle. Cruise control, crawl control, and advanced region. We're not launching them today because, as I said, we've been testing them only for the last 9 months. We want to clock another few months on this, feel really good about them before you put them out for your use cases, right? But they are headed to your vehicles in the coming months. Great, okay, so that covers ride experiences with Etherstack 5.0. Another update that's happening to a feature live on the vehicle and live on your mobile app is Trip Planner, finding the right charger en route. Now, Trip Planner's been live for a while. Trip Planner 1.0 went live almost, I think, a year back. The idea of Trip Planner was simple. We run the largest fast charging network in the country today. We wanted to be able to make that more useful for you. So we realized even if you offer 105 kilometers ka range on your scooter, people still have a lot of anxiety. Hey, what if I need to top up my charge a little bit more? So leveraging the fast charging network that we had and knowing their life status and their use, everything, we stitched it up with Trip Planner. So if you plan your trip on your mobile app, and if you just push it from here, when you start your scooter, that same navigation would turn on. Trip Planner version 1 was just point A to point B with a charger in the middle. Trip Planner version B enabled a return journey. So you wouldn't just get to point A, you would also get back to your home after that. And Trip Planner version 3, which has been in beta for the last several months, so we've been really testing this out across lots of corner cases, enables multi-stop trips. Because that's your life, right? You don't actually just go to office and come back. You'll go to office, then you will stop somewhere on your way back, then you will go and pick up something, and then you will go pick up somebody else, and then you may come back home. So you can plan that entire trip almost perfectly with this. Trip Planner not just tells you which charger to use on the way, it also figures out how much time exactly you need at every charger if you need multiple chargers. So it can do multiple stops, it can do multiple chargers, it can plan out the entire trip for you. Yeah, great, so that's Trip Planner. There are also lots of small features that have been updated. We can't cover all of them here, so you will see release later of that in text. Moving ahead. We talked about technology. Beyond technology, today we have a few more updates. The next one is around ecosystem. Starting with Ather Battery Protect. Now this went live in December, This is an extended warranty for your 450X and 450 pluses for an additional 2 years. So you sort of already know that we announced, that we launched this in a way, that we opened this up in a way. But today we want to use this opportunity to talk a little bit more and make a few more announcements around it. So Ather Battery Protect is a 2-year additional warranty, which extends your warranty up to 5 years and 60,000 kilometers. It also includes 100% coverage for any electrical failures especially around the battery pack. Now, this is where typically most OEMs' extended warranties will stop. Right? We then want to stop here. We wanted to offer a much more comprehensive solution if you're offering a warranty, especially an extended warranty. So the big differentiating thing with Ather's extended warranty, Ather Battery Protect, is a performance guarantee. What is a performance guarantee? A little bit of a background for this. Typical OEM warranties are for functionality, which means if at the end of that warranty period or extended warranty period, or even in the middle of it, let's say your battery pack dropped to 50% performance. You were getting, 100 kilometers of range, and now you're getting 50 kilometers of range. The OEM would put their hands up and say, listen, the battery pack is still working, so warranty cannot be triggered, right? And actually, I guess, I would bet most of us actually don't realize this because you don't read the fine print. The funny thing is, warranties for battery packs rarely cover actual deterioration, especially in India today, which does not make sense to us. So Ather Battery Performance Guarantee guarantees a minimum of 70% performance even at the end of 5 years. Ather battery has been built with a lot of hard work. It's a great hardware coming together with a great BMS. It's a lot of data that gives us the confidence, which is why we are extending the warranty period from 3 years to 5 years with this product now. Not just performance guarantee, we also have a no limits cover. So it doesn't matter what the replacement cost is. There is no upper cap on your warranty cover. And finally, there's one interesting corner case that we realized when we studied the market that was not being thought through, which was deep discharge protection. So today, warranties say this, that we will honor warranty, etc. But listen, if accidentally you forgot to charge your battery pack for a prolonged period, let's say a couple of months, few months, whatever, right? And your battery just went down to 0 and stayed there, then that unfortunately triggers a failure of the battery pack, and that's not covered under warranty. We think it makes no sense. Deep discharge can happen, it's just normal usage. You may sometimes not use your scooter for a prolonged period. So deep discharge is also covered under Ather's Ather Battery Protect. Now, this is a product that is an upgradable product. You can buy this today in our experience centers. But I thought more about it and we realized we're feeling so good about it. We baked in some of these costs, especially with the newer vehicles. So can we do better than a 3-year warranty? So what we're launching today is for 450Xs. Since you're anyways buying a performance pack when you buy the 450X, we are automatically increasing for newer products the warranty from 3 years to automatically 5 years. So all 450X now ship with a bundled in Ather Battery Protect. Not just that, we also thought about how do we launch this in a community day, because all of you guys already own a scooter. So, and the problem is a product like this is typically financially backed by another company. And the reason OEMs don't offer extended battery warranties to existing owners is because in the market it's called selection bias. It increases the cost dramatically and nobody wants to offer that. We thought about it, we made it work. So the same product is now available, for all our Gen 2 and Gen 3 customers at a deeply discounted price for the month of Jan. So if any of you want to extend your battery pack's warranty, you can buy it, you can extend the battery pack warranty through this month. Having said that, I'll be honest, I think it's a waste of money. Don't. I think this is a fantastic battery pack. You don't really need to worry about spending money to extend warranties. It's like I'm legit telling you, I think it'll work fine, right? Don't give us your money, right? Spend it on something like the side step or the front, right? Like keep it with you. But should you still have FOMO, should you still have worry, feel free, give us your money. We will guarantee 5 years now, formally, yeah? Great, okay. So now that I've made it difficult for us to be profitable, I'll talk about other things. Beyond warranty, beyond battery now. In other stuff, we have announcements around charging experiences. So first, a quick update on how our charging infrastructure looks like. We can't do an open house event without answering charging questions. Because if I right now started taking questions, I think there will be like 80 questions all around charging points. And that JP Nagar charging point, that always seems to be crowded, and what's going to happen to that, right? So how do we fix this? And what is Ather doing towards it? Well, we've been adding more charging points. Ather has taken charging points very seriously. Ather Grid, our fast charging network, is the largest in the industry in the country by far. And we built a fast charger before we built a scooter. That's how deep our confidence and our commitment to infrastructure goes. Sorry, I'll just go next. Yes, starting in June 2018, when we first started setting up charging points, the number gradually went up. It sort of kept in pace with the number of scooters we had in the field. Starting last year, the number skyrocketed, hit 900 or 800? I think a pretty large number just a couple of months back. Today, we stand at 900 fast chargers across the country. Not just that, we're adding an average of 150 fast chargers a month. By March this year, just in about 75 days, we will hit 1,300 fast chargers across the country. 1,300 fast chargers. Ather has more fast chargers in Bangalore than the entire fast charging industry put together across the country today, right? This has been powered because of the transition to our Gen 2 hardware for Grid 2.0. I'm sure all of you have seen it. It's been a big upgrade, and I'm sure you will start noticing this because chargers will free up more. We're adding more locations. We're adding more chargers also in many locations now. So just give us a few months. If your area does not already have a fast charger, one is coming to your area very shortly. With fast charging, our customers have already covered 22 million kilometers, and that's saved almost 5.7 lakhs units of electricity for our customers over the last year, I think. Okay, now before I go ahead, this is all about fast chargers. We already solve home charging by Ather dots. One aspect that kind of has kept coming in community conversations and a lot of our open house conversations is how do we solve for apartment charging? Because a lot of people are not able to buy electric vehicles because the RWAs are not able to give approvals for installing a charging point in their parking lots. And fast chargers are not an easy solution for day-to-day driving. So how do we solve for this? We want to work on this, and for the last almost 2 years now, there's been work happening on. We initially began with some partnerships, we explored a lot of things, finally concluded that in proper Ather fashion, if you have to do this right, we'll have to just build a fast charger we'll have to just build a new charging product. That's what we're very happy to announce today. Oh, sorry, okay, I'll skip this. Ather neighborhood charging, right? It's a solution that goes inside your common areas of your apartment complexes. It can go inside your offices. Anywhere where you can get us approvals, we will set up these charging units now. These are essentially universal 3.3 kilowatt AC chargers. They can charge everything from a two-wheeler, three-wheeler, and a car. They have a scan and pay solution built right in. And for RWS, it's an end-to-end solution, which means auto payments to host. So whatever is the cost spent for running this charging point, we will directly settle it with the RWA or your office. So you don't have to worry about that. So that's also taken care of. You have live tracking of charging status, so you know which chargers are available. It can scale almost indefinitely. We can set up 2 of these in your building, or we can set up 20 of these, or even 50 of these in your building. Installations have already begun in a few select places. And finally, one last part, a lot of associations typically insist that, hey, if you're setting up a charging point, A, it should work for everybody, not just Ather, which it does. It works for anything, not just an Ather scooter. B, it should be compliant to some safety norms. This one is. It's compliant to IS 17017, part 22. So it also makes it legal and perfectly comfortable to set this up. So this is live now. Do write to us if you want us to set this up. The first few charging points we are also very happy to do at a very deeply discounted cost. The idea is we want to get chargers in your apartments, in your offices, even before you or your friends buy a vehicle, right? So that's what this product solves for. Finally, this product is already out. Some of you have already bought it. We have the Frunk. It's a 14-liter space, which is waterproof. It has 3 storage areas built in. It's built of a great material. It's compatible with all vehicles today. It takes no space because it's got this elastic material. So it just sort of beautifully settles in with the front of your scooter, unlike typical front storage boxes, which are bulky. So in typical Ather fashion, an extremely well-designed storage solution. And I think with that, we can move to the last section for the day today, which is a few announcements around design. So what's changing in design? First, seat. Now, actually, somebody at the start of the session itself came to me, boss, seat fix karo yaar. So yes, we have some good news for you. We're launching a new seat today. What the seat does is, by the way, it's compatible with all existing scooters. What the seat does, it's narrower in the front. So if you are 5 feet in height, your feet can now reach the ground. It's flatter in the middle. So if you're 6 feet tall, you can slide back more comfortably than you could do in the past. And it's also slightly steeper at the back, which means for pillion riders, they don't get that whiplash effect. So they sort of sit more comfortably even if you whop on the scooter. So it's just an overall well-designed seat. It is also 14% thicker throughout, which means a more plushy and more comfortable ride. And as a special thank you for those of you here who are here in the event in person, if you check your goodie bag, you will see a small 3D printed seat replica. If you go with that seat replica starting February to any of your service centers, they will replace the seat free of cost. The seat is on us. Boy, you guys really needed a new seat. Yeah. Cool, awesome. Great, okay. Coming to the last update for today, there have been too many leaks around this. Yes, the leaks are correct. We have something new on design. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I stood on the floor here. We had an announcement. We're also launching our apparel and merchandise series today, Ather merchandise. You can, if you step out, it's t-shirts, it's jackets, it's helmets. For those of you here in person, if you step out, we've got demos of them. For those of you in person, if you buy one here, you can also customize it for the event today. So please do go check them out. Team made a small cool video about Ather merchandise. So I'm just going to quickly play it before moving on to the last section. In classical Ather fashion, you won't see a name anywhere. Yeah. Cool, okay, awesome. Coming to the last section, as I said, you've seen enough leaks. So we have something around colors. The original 450 was designed to be in one color only. And that was because we were hell-bent that we want to make one color iconic. Great products are not just known for their specs, their image kind of gets hammered in your head, right? Like the original iPhone, like the original iPod. Similarly, we want to make the white really iconic. As time went by, however, we started selling across a lot more places. So there was a lot of pull that let's do more interesting colors. And that's how the green and the gray, the mint green and the gray finally came about, including the Series 1. In the last 1 year in particular, however, we have expanded ultra wide across the country. And it's difficult to resist the pull for more colors. So with that in mind, we're introducing 4 new colors today. Starting with the Lunar Grey. The Lunar Grey is inspired by the Nardo racetrack in Italy. 450X is a performance scooter, so that racetrack was something that our design teams really wanted to do. It sort of gives ode to the history of track racing. It comes with this accent of red in it, so it makes like a great performance feel to the vehicle. The next color is Cosmic Black. This one is inspired by Series 1. We stopped doing Series 1s after the first lot, and there was so much demand that we should do a Series 1 again. So we went back, we thought through again. It has a different aqua blue that we've gone as a accent this time. And the black is also a little different, but it's a beautiful cosmic black that's going live. The next one is true red. You can't do a performance scooter color range without doing red. So the red had to happen, right? It comes with white accents. Finally, at this point, we could have just stopped because performance, automotive enough happened. But then we thought the same, that we should do something different. The thing is, automotive industry kind of feeds onto itself, including what we have done. You sort of do the performance aspect too much. And you wanted to step out of it a little bit. We want to break out of it a little bit. We wanted to do something which was inspired by something non-auto for a change. With that in mind, we're doing a very interesting new color. It's called the salt green. This is inspired by the apparel industry, by the kind of shoes and where they've gone and the kind of texture they've really been able to crack, the kind of things that have happened in furniture, in your headsets. So salt green is the fourth color. It replaces the current mint green and becomes part of the 6 new color portfolio that we have. With that, I can go to the video now, correct, guys? It's video next, yeah? Cool, thanks. So I think that's 90% of my content. There's just a couple of things left, which I'll come to shortly. But with this, product announcements are pretty much done. Our team made a beautiful video that sort of encapsulates a lot of this content in one single ad film. I'm just going to play that for all of us here.
Change in plan. Meet me at the cafe.
Are you getting the scooters? We just have all the scooters on stage for a display. We'll just spend a few minutes with them and then I'll come to the last section.
I'll take you higher than you've ever been. We're gonna touch the sky. Don't worry about a thing. I'll be your wings as we fly. When I'll take you high.
Hey, turn on my mic. Hello. Is my mic on? Great, awesome. Hey, thanks, folks. Yeah, sorry, this took a little longer. You will notice we didn't just do a green, red, blue. We sort of took a twist on every single color here. Everything's a little unique. If you drive an Ather, you do drive a unique vehicle. Everything's done after a lot of thought here. Okay, great. First, a quick announcement around, so typically all of this stuff would only go with the new vehicles. Well, that's not the case. It's a community day. We called you all here because a lot of this actually goes back to existing customers also. Here is a quick announcement of what's available for which generation. Can I click next? Okay. It's called No Owner Left Behind. Starting with Gen 3 and Gen 2 owners first. First, for Gen 3 customers, every feature is backward compatible that we announced today. Nothing's not available, except obviously the colors. Gen 2, everything except auto hold. Auto hold required new hardware and hence is not backward compatible with Generation 2 customers. Otherwise, everything else goes back, including everything that you saw on the dashboard. That brings us to what about Generation 1 and Generation 1.5 customers? The OG 450 customers, right? What about them? So the hardware has changed quite a lot since the original 450 launch. It's difficult to sort of take everything back, but we want to sort of figure out how can we upgrade you to the latest generation. So with that in mind, we're launching an upgrade plan. For Ether 450 owners. What's the upgrade plan? So essentially, depending on whether your 450 as of Jan end is less than 3 years or more than 3 years, depending on that timeline, we are offering you an upgrade to 450X. What is the upgrade price? For less than 3-year-old 450s, for more than 3-year-old 450s, the upgrade price is 90,000 rupees. For less than 3-year-old scooters, the upgrade price is 80,000 rupees. This plan will be on a recurring basis. But those of you who choose to upgrade in the next 2 months, so till March, this number is reduced further. There's an additional bonus discount that we're putting in, should you choose to upgrade this quarter, essentially. And this number then becomes 70,000 and 80,000, right? If you think about the residual value of your 450 with this number, it's higher than almost any petrol scooter deterioration. Because this implies a residual value of, I think, about almost 75 to 90,000 rupees for your first generation 450, despite 3-4 years. We really hope, well, I'm sure if your 450 is running, I'm sure all of your 450 is running great, but we would really love, given the amount of leap we've been able to make in our hardware and in our software, we would really love for more and more of our owners to transition to the latest generation 450X. Nothing would make us more happier, which is why we're starting this program. Gen 2 owners, sit tight. I don't think you need this scheme right now. Your vehicles are beautiful. Don't worry about upgrading right now. Yeah. And I think that's it. I think there's something more? Oh, yeah, sorry. Just a final shot that keeping up with the tradition that we have started last year, announcements are not months or years ahead of schedule. Everything that we announced today, along with the new colors, deliveries start today. So for anybody upgrading right now, or any of your friends who are upgrading to the, I see one customer, but anybody who's upgrading right now, or any of your friends who want to buy, deliveries literally start today. We've already sent out our scooters to our dealerships, which is why the number of leaks, it was just crazy stupid, the number of leaks that came out this time, right? But that's a wrap, folks, right? That's a wrap. Thank you for being a patient audience. I'm sorry I took 5 minutes longer than I thought. But this is not it. As I said, an open house event, a community day like this is not just about announcements, it's also about more interactions. So we've got a few hours worth of stuff lined up outside, including lunch. And the day will end with a session with me and Swapnil talking about why we're building Ather, the vision and the mission of the company, something that we've actually never talked about publicly. Heck, we've not talked about enough even internally about it, right? So for those of you who have the energies, we would love for you to stay back for that session. It's going to be the first time we talk about that in our 10 years at Ather. Yeah. Thank you, folks.
65 लोग जुड़े हैं। देखो